Oh, look at this free money. I want some of that. Why am I ice skating with bananas underground? How's it going, everyone? As you all can see, I am back with a brand new video, but this one is a little different than my usual speed building content. Some friends of mine have created videos showing off all of their plots in the game, which I know some of you have watched and requested that I do something similar, so I decided to give it a try. Before we move on though, I want to make sure to give credit where credit is due to my friends Pita Bread, Azria, and Feeberry, who inspired me to create this. Their videos are linked down in the description below, and while you're there, make sure to click the link and join my Discord server. This is the #1 place to know when I'm going to be recording or releasing new content. I also play games with everyone from time to time and try to participate in the chat when possible to get to know all of you. Anyways, as you guys can see, I have a lot of plots to get through, 45 of them to be exact, so let's go ahead and get started. Some of these are previous speed builds. I'll try to keep the overviews pretty brief, and a few of the plots are actually empty or pre-built homes. I probably won't spend a whole lot of time on those, but no worries, I will be showing you every single plot I own. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one, which is the gas station. So as you guys can see here, we are on the very first plot, the gas station, which I actually completed in January of 2018. This plot is worth over $300,000. And at the time, I wanted to compete with Gas Blocks, the local gas station in town. As you can see up front, we've got the gas pumps and a car wash, and then this is just a convenience store. I wish that it would have been a little more decorated inside, but it got the job done for the time being. And then out back here, you have the vehicle maintenance area. So this is where you can bring your car if you're having problems with it or just need some general tune-ups. Have a mechanic look over things. And in the back, you have the staff area where you can pay for your services, or they have their offices back here. And that concludes the gas station. So diving into the next plot here, this is actually one of my favorite speed builds, the cruise ship. As you can see, we are loaded in here at the cruise ship. This is over $1 million, $1,085,000 here. I'm actually going to show you guys this one in build mode just because of how large this plot is, and there's a lot to go through. But as you can see on our top deck here, and this was before the 5 floors was implemented, as you can see the lighting's a little bright, but on the top here the idea was you had kind of your lobby space and the general atrium, you have your pool deck, your gym, there is a daycare, and then a clothing shop or like general gift store here. In the front, you have your captain's quarters. And then of course, in the very front of the plot, you'll see as we go down, that's actually where you check into the ship. This is looking at the 2-story dining space, which also has a kitchen down below. These are the kind of suites, so the larger guest rooms and the balcony guest rooms, and then kind of a bar and lounge here towards the back of the ship. And then in the lowest level, you have your engine rooms, your lower just windowed guest cabins, a dance kind of nightclub area, a spa where there's massages, as well as your salon area. And then once again, looking at the restaurant here. And then this is also, like I mentioned before, just where you check into the ship. That concludes the cruise ship. So this next one here, the city block plot, is actually one of my very first builds in Bloxburg. This one holds a very special place in my heart, and I cannot wait to show you guys. Alright, so here we are at the city block. This one valued almost at $600,000. So as you can see, this was actually before Bloxburg implemented the larger plot game pass. So in this area, you kind of have a few key buildings. You have what was an Italian restaurant up front. It just had some tables and general area to explore. The next one here is actually the movie theater. So inside there were 2 theater spaces, both 2 stories tall. At the time, it was themed for the winter and Christmas season, so it was showing how the Grinch stole Christmas. The next one moving down the line here is the factory, which was supposed to be kind of a converted building into a nightclub. I did take out the DJ booth because of course those are Bloxbucks. I wanted to save my money, but just looking through here real quick, you can see that this actually was the upper kind of lounge space. And one more thing to note was this was all done before ceiling lights existed in the game. Starting at the front on the next side here, you have the cafe, and then just upstairs was a little library space. space. And then working our way down, this was actually a townhome that I would allow other players to rent. This was a way that I made money. And as you can see, there are just a few bedrooms and kind of spaces. With the master bedroom being on the highest level overlooking the city block. Next to the townhome, you've got a little music store. Like I said before, there were no ceiling lights in the game at this time, but upstairs you have your recording studio, all the instruments for sale. And then the last space here is just a gym, and as you can see above, I actually had an apartment space, which was my own personal loft on this lot. And you can kind of see them above here. They're nothing really too special, so I'm not going to go through them, but 2 apartments above that. And that concludes the city block. So the next plot we have here is actually another speed build. This was my ice cream shop. So we have Frosty's Ice Cream here loaded in. This is a build I completed in 2018. As you can see, it's worth $275,000. Just wanted it to be one of those places where there's a variety of different flavors. They've got a little patio outside. And of course, in the back, you have your kitchen space for servicing everything and creating all of that delicious ice cream. So this next plot here is actually not a speed build. This is one of my old builds from before I started YouTube, and it was a high school. As you guys can see, this is the high school. This was worth $531,000. Because of the size of this one, I'm going to once again show you guys this one in build mode. Let's start at the top here. As you can see, going from the top down, you had your library up here. There's bathrooms on every floor. This was the home economics, so like cooking classroom. And then over here you have your painting and art, as well as the band classroom. Down here you've got 2 just more generic classrooms, probably math and social studies or subjects similar to those. And then over here, of course, is the science lab, so with the classic tables, your chemical cabinet, and a bunch of scientific writing on the board. Over here you have the gym, which would be for all the athletes and students to work out, and then a look down into the gymnasium at the time. So this plot was actually created before the large plot Game Pass existed. As you can see, it was much smaller than what I would have liked it to have been. Over here you have the cafe and the stairwell. This was more of the administrative area, so staff offices. This is a staff break room. Over here was the nurse's office, and then over here are just the 2 locker rooms for the gymnasium, and that concludes the high school. So the next one we have here is actually one of my holiday speed builds, and this was my take on the North Pole. So as you can see, we are here at the North Pole speed build. This one was $616,000. Because of the size of this one, I'm also going to show you guys this one in build mode here. So in the back was actually Santa's workshop. This was the Claus home, and then up here was the reindeer barn. This was a toy shop where you could come and get toys. Whoops, didn't mean to go to the basement there. So this was a toy shop. This was kind of a cafe where you could drink your hot chocolate and stuff. And then just another shop up front here. And then once again, this was the workshop where all of the toys are made and sent out to all the good kids. And it looks a little weird having the grass in here. As you can imagine, it was supposed to be snow at the time, but you guys get the idea. Moving on to my next plot, we have 4 gardens. I have the 4 Gardens home loaded in here at $270,000. This was actually based off of one of my favorite Roblox showcases, and it's a game, so I tried to recreate the home in there. The creator of this is Joseph. I don't remember the numbers after it, but the actual name of this game is Les Quartes Jardins. I believe is French, and I probably butchered the pronunciation. As you can see, I made my own spin by adding a fish tank, and then up above was just the bedroom spaces. So this I used to use as my personal home in the game, just to kind of have something to load in while working on other builds. Moving on to the next plot in the list, we have In-N-Out Burger, the ever delicious fast food chain here in the US. So we are here at my classic In-N-Out Burger. I built this one in December of 2016. As you can see down below, this is worth $280,000. I'm thinking I might actually recreate this one soon. It has been a while since I've done any sort of restaurant. I think it would be fun to recreate a build like this. If this is something you guys want to see, let me know down below. I think I might recreate a few of these builds that you'll actually see. I think this is probably one of my tops. So as you saw through there, that was the kitchen and dining space. And then actually up above, because of the proportions of this, I had an office space up above this. And if you guys know Simply Canadian, she was the one that actually set all these decals to that beautiful rendering she did of me. Thank you to her. And then this was a meeting space, and I actually had a house up here that I would live in whenever I loaded in this plot and would let people roleplay in it or use it to make money. Moving into our next plot here is actually the abandoned warehouse, which is a build I never completed. So the abandoned warehouse was created around February of 2017. I'm going to show you guys this one in build mode as well. So this was actually a plot that I used with one of my friends at the time, where we would basically act like these scary clowns and chase people around in servers. The idea was to get them inside of our kind of haunted headquarters and eventually trap them inside. So we had all these different traps that of course we would scare people with. There was this funny little room here, which as you can see is a little haunted, a little creepy, no doubt. And as we would run around as clowns, we also had this nice kind of apartment space up here that we could fulfill our needs in. Eventually we were going to have some offices. This was going to be like a circus area, and the idea was we were going to role play it as a hospital to see if people would catch on that it was actually a haunted abandoned. Moving on to my next plot here is the Modern Lofts and Restaurant. So this is actually a plot that I ended up recreating in one of my more recent speed builds that I'm sure some of you have seen. We're going to go into build mode and look at this. But once again, another plot that was created before the large plot Game Pass existed. The idea of this was to have a cafe or coffee shop up front, as well as some sort of restaurant, and then the pool and gym amenities for residents. As you can see, unfortunately never finished this, as well as some different sized lofts. And as you guys will see in one of my later plots, I actually ended up recreating this idea and made a new version of this that I finally completed and made a video on. Up next, we have the Container House. The Container House was actually one of my very first speed builds. This one valued at $231,000. The idea of this was, of course, to have shipping containers stacked and fit together to create a home. So as you can see, this was the living space, and over here it flowed into what I considered a more natural landscape at the time. As you can see, this was originally created in the fall, and then of course in the back here it was overlooking a pool and landscaped area down below. And then going up to the second floor here, this was just the single bedroom and bathroom space. As you can see, the object selections were much more limited at this time of the game. This was actually before I was even involved as a developer in the game itself. Alright, so for this next plot, this is actually another one of my very early videos on the channel, the Opera House. As you can see, this build is pretty dated, but at the time I was so incredibly proud of this. I was so excited and happy with how this turned out, especially doing the tray ceiling at the time using a table technique that was starting to become pretty popular with the builders. As you can see, this was the lobby space. The lighting's a little too bright, as you see with a lot of older builds, but this is the actual space. And obviously there are things that are a lot more detailed in today's building world, but keep in mind that this was from 2017, so at the time things were very limited. I'll show you guys this in build mode as well, just so you can get a good idea. So you can see this was the space we were just in. On each side there's a seating area. In this front area there's actually kind of a bar and reception lounge. Well, some bathrooms up here, the ticket booth, and I believe this was just kind of a staff closet. And then you can also go upstairs. There's more seating here, as well as a little kind of catering kitchen. This was more of a formal sitting area. As you can tell just by kind of the design and style, the actual limitations of the game weighed very heavily on the design. Looking in the back here, you can see the dressing rooms. This was the behind the stage, as well as what was like prop storage over here. And then I actually had the catwalks up above. And obviously we've seen many more details included in some of today's opera houses in the community, but it is definitely fun to look back on stuff like this. I don't think I touched on the value, so this in today's value is $497,000. Up next, we have another one that holds a very, very special place in my heart. My very first speed build, the Pumpkin Patch. As you guys can see, we are here at the Pumpkin Patch, valued at $402,000. This one was my very first video uploaded in October of 2017. As you guys can see, you could buy your pumpkins here. This was kind of a more general cafe area where you could get your fall festive drinks, and then in the back, an actual functioning maze that I spent the time creating various routes through. And just don't tell anyone, but the secret is actually that the illuminated pumpkins show you the way through. And then in the very back here, we actually had a walk-through haunted house that had some various decorated rooms that you could go through. Moving on to another build from late 2017 is the ski resort. We are here at the ski resort, valued over $400,000. This is really one of my first builds. I tried to do more with the terrain shaping, similar to the container house, but really want to make kind of a mountain setting. As you can see, this was obviously snow at the time, but here you have your lodge as well as a guest cabin and then kind of a ski side cafe. As you can see, a pool and gym space in here, as well as some bedrooms. And this, of course, was a speed build, so if you're interested in seeing this more, make sure to go check out that video. Moving on to this next plot is actually one of my first speed builds that really picked up traction, and I contribute to some of the early growth of my channel, the Times Square New Year's plot. So as you guys can see, we are here in what I considered my Times Square speed build at the time, celebration for New Year's, and it's valued a little under $300,000. Unfortunately, none of the buildings themselves are furnished, but this was supposed to be kind of a celebratory build that had some of the big displays and things of that nature. I know this is one that I've also gotten a lot of requests to rebuild, especially with the newer build limitations in the game, so this might be one that I retake on this year for New Year's. We will see. On to my next build here, which is another speed build, the Bank of Robloxia. So here we are at the Bank of Robloxia, which was once again a speed build. This is a $200,000 value plot. As you can see when you walk inside, you have the bank lobby with some skylights, which were used creating the old method of the glass tables, little kind of waiting area back here, and then of course the tellers area where you had the drive-through, as well as the secret vault that stored all of the money and gold for the good people of Bloxburg, kind of your management offices, and then some bathrooms and a conference room. So rolling into the next build here is another large one, which was also a speed build, the baseball stadium. As you guys can see, we are loaded in here at the baseball stadium, valued over $500,000. This was one that I originally created in March of 2018. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this one just real quick through build mode here so you get a good idea. You can see we had the gift shop, and then on each floor were, of course, various concession stands and bathrooms. Back on the main level here, we had the team locker rooms as well as a media and press space. And then moving up, just once again, more concession stands, lots of seating for all of the fans to be here and attend. And then of course the suites as well as the press box where they would call the plays of the game. And then in the very back with concessions behind it is of course the infamous scoreboard. Now moving on to one of my most popular speed builds and videos on the channel, the airport. We are here at the Bloxburg International Airport, which was a speed build valued at a little over $775,000. This one was originally created all the way back in 2018 once again. As you can see inside, this is your main terminal, so this is where you would buy your plane tickets. And of course, you need to go through security to make sure everyone is safe. And then back here are the gates where you would board your plane, as well as the various shops with some food up above that you can see there. Out here you have the gate where you can board your plane, and unfortunately I was not able to actually create planes. I didn't think any way of actually trying to create them would really fit in this scale. Just wanted to kind of give the representation of a runway. And then coming back down through the basement here is actually where you would pick up your luggage if you were arriving and come out to your car to depart. Moving on to the next one here is Salt and Pepper, which was my modern restaurant speed build. So here we are at Salt and Pepper, valued a little over $300,000. This was once again another one that was created back in 2018. As you can see, the lighting is way too bright in today's updated Roblox lighting engine, but outside here we had the patio space. You saw when we walked in the host and hostess station, and then inside, of course, the kitchen, which is displayed to all of the guests sitting in the main dining room here. Once again, very, very bright, hard to look at, but you get the concept. It would be very easy to tweak for today. And then of course the upper level, which had a balcony. And moving into this next one is another speed build, which was a suburban home. As you guys can see, we are at the suburban home, valued a little under $200,000. This was created all the way back in April of 2018. It's a little outdated now, and the lighting could also use some adjustments. But as you can see, pretty decent floor plan. Obviously, we added in actual stairs with landings, so you wouldn't have that condition anymore. Up here, just the master bedroom space with a really large bathroom, and then 2 more bedrooms, one being geared towards a child and the guest bedroom up front. And then of course the backyard where you have some outdoor grilling area, a pool, and a little fire pit. Looking at another really cool home here. This is actually my take on a beach house, and one of my favorite features being the lighthouse is actually included in this. So here we are at the lighthouse. As you can see, this one comes in at $820,000. I built this back in June of 2018. So I kind of want it built into the hillside here, and then you'll see back behind this is the actual beach home. You can see just kind of a beachy color vibe going. Once again, another build with lighting that's too bright because of all the lighting adjustments. Originally, I built this with fake water just to keep the plot value down, because I know that's something that a lot of people keep in mind. But I did later come back and basements were added and add actual water, as well as these sandy slopes here. So you can kind of see the beachfront here. And I won't explore the home itself too much. I encourage you to go check out the speed build video where I walk through that more in depth, and as well as show how to build it. And then up here, of course, is one of my favorite parts, the actual lighthouse, and actually go out here and just kind of look over it. And yeah, another build that I really enjoyed making. This next plot is actually one of my favorite plots I've probably created to date, the water park. So here we are loaded in at the water park, valued at $1.1 million. This speed build was uploaded once again in the fall of 2018. You can see it in more detail, or if you want to recreate it for yourself, in the video on the channel. But as you can see, I really wanted an adventure themed water park. I thought that would be a lot of fun. So you've got the pirate ship, the waterfalls, as well as the volcanoes over there, and then up front you can see that there was a kids area, as well as some changing and bathrooms. And I kind of wanted this to look like an old pirate fortress here. And I'll show you a quick view of underneath. So this was in the lazy river. This was supposed to be like a hidden tunnel that had some treasures and various kind of pirate themed relics, since this was called Pirates Cove. And then up here going down the boardwalk, you had your gift shop, a toy shop up here. This was a cafe, a clothing store, and then a restaurant back here. And while I won't spoil all of the surprises from the tour video, I will at least show you this one. And this was a hidden slide in the mountain. Loading up this next plot here, another home speed build. This is the single story modern. As you guys can see, this one was valued at about $185,000. This one had, I believe, 1 bedroom up front here, and then I think just the master bedroom, so 2 bedrooms. This one could easily be used as another bedroom. This was just an office in here. You got a bathroom and then an open kind of kitchen living room area. As you can see, just a nice covered little patio area. And then of course the master bedroom back here. So you've got a large master bedroom, got your bathroom and a walk-in closet back there, and then your laundry going into your garage. So loading up the next plot, this is probably my largest and most detailed plot that I have. This one is, of course, the Chicago-inspired New Year's build. So as you guys can see, we are here at the Chicago New Year's plot. This is actually my most expensive plot to date, coming in at a final value of $2.5 million. I actually had to break this speed build into 2 parts. Let me just show you why. So as you guys can see here, starting off on the main level, you have 3 homes in the very back here that are kind of different in style. You have a cafe, you've got a theater back here, you've got 2 office buildings on the property, so one in the front, one kind of next to the riverfront here, a parking garage, clothing store, restaurant, and then you get into up above where you've got more dining, the office spaces, a loft, more parking, the second floor of these homes, and then of course I didn't touch on it, but the stage area, which is where the celebration was happening. As you can see, I had a fireworks display set up here on the river, and then just as we go up here, you can see more height buildings increasing. This one was one of my favorites, which of course was inspired by some of my other building with a modern industrial loft. Overall, this was a really fun one to make. I was really happy with how this went. So you all may or may not recognize this next name, Hook and Ladder 8. This was actually a Halloween themed build based on the movie series Ghostbusters. So the name for this plot, Hook and Ladder 8, actually comes from this firehouse here, which was supposed to be the Ghostbusters repurposed headquarters in the movies. But as you can see on the lower level, this is where they stored their ghost busting vehicle, which was a converted station wagon. And this build, I wanted to make it look like it was within the city. So I had a graveyard and church over here to kind of add to the haunted Halloween vibes. And as you'll see throughout the build, they had hidden ghosts. Right here, of course, was just an automotive repair shop within the city. You saw down below a laundromat and clothing shop, and up above I also had a set of rooms that acted as a haunted apartment. Going back into the Ghostbusters area, they had their ghost busting lab up top, their pool table, which you can see in some of the movies, and then their general living quarters, their beds, kitchen, and just kind of a hang. So this next plot is actually an upcoming speed build based off of my actual house. As some of you might have known, I moved out about a year ago from the apartment that I have a speed build on the channel on, and this is my current house. I'll only show it for a brief bit so you don't get too many spoilers for the upcoming video, but this should give you an... Okay, so like I said, we are here at my in-progress house build. As I said, I don't want to spoil the upcoming video on this. Hopefully it'll be up sometime soon. I'm actually waiting on some new furniture for my house that I'd like to have in before I do a video showing it off. But as you can see, this is actually my office space. So I'm actually sitting right about where I'm standing in this room right now, recording this. So hopefully you guys stick around and see that in an upcoming video. So about this next plot, I'll just go ahead and load it and let you guys see for yourselves. So about this plot, totally nothing suspicious here. You're just walking across my lawn and suddenly you end up in prison! Ah! As you guys can see, this is actually a plot that I built as a joke. This was just to mess with people when I would have it loaded in on a server. Of course, I had the different jail cells as well as this kind of banana ice skating trap. Don't ask me what I was thinking at the time, but the idea was that people would of course go for this beautiful free money and then fall into the hole below. I'll just show you that side as well real quick. It'd be like, oh, look at this free money. I want some of that. Why am I ice skating with bananas underground? Anyways, moving on to a more normal build. This is another speed build of mine, the Tropical Oasis Backyard. So here we are at the Tropical Oasis Backyard. This one was uploaded in the early months of last year. You can see it's valued a little under 300,000. Really just wanted to create a build that gave some ideas for some really creative backyards, because I know a lot of the big mansions you guys create are also deserving of some really cool landscaping and fun backyard areas, including this fun little water slide here. Let's see if I can get it to work. There we go. As you can see, you still fall through and slide on down, and then over here was just kind of your outdoor bar area as well as changing rooms for your guests. So this next one is exactly what it says it is, an underground kitchen. So here we are at my underground kitchen. This is actually one that I created that I could use to cook in servers while stocking up items for my next plot that we will load in, which was the bakery. But as you can see, I had a kitchen under here, and I had a secret door underneath where I could put a car so that people couldn't find me. And I just used this before neighborhoods existed, so I could cook in privacy and stock up on bakery goods. This next one is nothing exciting. This is just the happy home over a block a starter house, but I will at least show you guys that's truly what it is. So here we are at the happy home of Robloxia. As you can see, I've added some vehicles as well as the 1 billion trophy. And of course back here is just, as I'm sure many of you have seen, the starter house. But one little addition that I did make, which if you're ever trying to find me, is of course the secret basement. I was going to turn this into more of a functioning space, and then I had my escape route with my limousine where I could come out through here. Up next, we have another one of my speed builds, the Piece of Cake Bakery. So here we are at the Piece of Cake Bakery. As you can see, it was valued at $500,000, but as you can see, I also had a lot of vehicles. And for some reason, my parking lot paving is missing, so I guess you can park in the grass here. As you can see inside, this was the bakery. And like I talked about in the last plot, this is where I made some of the goods to stock the place. Back here, you just had a restroom and, of course, the bakery kitchen, which is very, very important in a place like this. And up above is actually an apartment space where you could live if you were the owner of the bakery. So up next, as you can see, these are both just empty plots, but I did say that I would load every single plot, so I will show you guys both of these. Woohoo! Empty plot number 1, house value of 0. And then equally as exciting as the last one, empty plot number 2, rocking in a total of $0 again. Back to the real plots. So up next we have another one of my favorite speed builds, the farmhouse and farm, which I know a lot of you guys enjoyed as well. So here we are at the farmhouse and farm speed build plot. As you guys will see, I actually did come back and update it when we added the new gates and fences, just to give it a little bit different of a look. So if this is a build that you guys have recreated, highly recommend just playing around with it a bit. As you can see up front, we had the field as well as the barn back here, and I won't go into detail on all of these, but just to kind of give you a general idea, and you can see more of it in the actual video. This was the guest house, which had a bedroom space up above. As you saw back here, a flamingo coop, supposed to be chickens, a greenhouse, as well as kind of a horse and animal pen. And then in the back of the home is your pond with a little dock, and then there's a garden back behind there. I'll just show you kind of the main level. So this was actually the farmhouse. You can see had the front porch going on. This you could probably do now with a raised flat roof, but I just wanted kind of that lattice look on the front. And as you can see, a nice formal dining area, and of course a nice kitchen, living space, and then going back onto this deck that overlooks the pond, as well as your master bedroom, and then there's some additional bedroom spaces above. So this next one is the Industrial Lofts building speed build, which actually is a recreation of the plot that I showed you earlier. It was Industrial Lofts and a restaurant, a new take on that idea. So as you guys can see, we are here at the Industrial Lofts building, valued at $1.75 million. So as you guys can see, we are loaded in here at the Industrial Lofts building, valued at $1.75 million. Like I said, this is a recreation of that previous plot that I showed earlier, but this is actually a finished version. So here on the main level, you have your bakery and cafe space. This is the apartment lobby here, and then actually a nod to my modern restaurant from earlier, Salt and Pepper, which you guys saw a little bit ago. We'll go ahead and go into build mode, and I'll show you guys kind of the upper floors here, which were the actual apartment spaces. I guess we'll actually start in the basement. So this is just where you had your resident parking garage with access from the side. Ideally, you load this on one of the corner plots so that you can drive right in and it looks normal. Turn off the grid. So as you can see, there's plenty of lofts, and then there's actually 2 one-story apartments in the back here. And then just moving up, you can see that they all have their lofted living spaces, and the corner units here are actually larger. I did just want to give you guys a quick view of one of my favorite rooms in this speed build, which is actually the indoor pool space. And then while we're in here, I also wanted to give you guys just a quick view of what to expect if you haven't watched the video. This is just one of the loft spaces as well. And up above, of course, is your living space. And this one actually has. Up next is, of course, I think a plot a lot of you guys probably have, my seasonal item storage. So we are here at the seasonal item storage plot. I know a lot of you guys probably have these. As you saw, I don't think I've updated it since last fall. I don't use it as much as some of you guys probably do, but this is just where I store a lot of the seasonal items. Doesn't look like I ever captured any of the updated Christmas items. I'm sure I have some in some of my other plots. But as you can see, ideally this is just a warehouse where I store all those items. So I have an inventory of them when it is not in season. But looking at this next plot here, this is actually one of my favorite holiday plots. So here we are at the famous Rockefeller Center from New York City. As you can see, this one is valued at $1.3 million. Up front here, you have a toy store, as well as a clothing store, just to give it kind of some actual shops like what you would see. And so for those who have not ever been to New York City, this is the famous holiday ice skating rink. And then up above, they have their big tree lighting ceremony, which you can see I tried to do a little recreation of if you've watched the tour video. Down here is where you would buy and rent ice skates, and then actually I created these after the fact for when I hosted a bunch of fans here and we all were able to skate around. And there are actual guest rooms where people could get their needs up. And then down at this end you have kind of your holiday cafe as well as a restaurant space. Love the way this one turned out. As you can see, all of the holiday lights definitely puts you in the holiday season. I know a lot of the stores are already putting out their holiday items this early in the year, but we'll get there very soon. And then this next plot is another one from last winter during the holiday. Polar Express train station. So here we are at the holidays Polar Express train station. As I mentioned, this one was from last winter. And as you can see, this one's a little over $800,000. I want to make this look like an old-fashioned train station. You've got your lobby in here as well as your guest waiting area. I also wanted to add some of the classic payphone booths. And then of course the train steam engine. I had a lot of requests to create a train as well as a train station. So I thought it would be a lot of fun to combine these and make something based off the classic holiday book and also animated movie. So of course you've just got your train cars here. In the back is more of your upgraded class, and there's actually a tunnel goes down and underneath the tracks as well as some restrooms. So this next one I'm loading in is my football stadium, which was actually created in celebration of last year's Super Bowl game. So here we are at my football stadium. Bloxburg Stadium, as you can see, is valued a little under $2 million. I got a lot of questions asking if this was based off of a real football stadium somewhere. No, this was not. I just wanted a very open kind of aspect to it, and with the lot size constraints in Bloxburg, I did the best I could to cram it all in one. Starting all the way in the basement here on both sides, you have your team locker rooms and changing rooms for showering and stuff, as well as workout facilities with tunnels that lead out onto the field for the big game. And then going up, you have a kind of team store, various concession stands, as well as restrooms. And then moving further up, so we'll get a little bit of a closer look at these. So these are actually the suites here. People could rent out during the game. Also the game announcing and broadcasting booths are very important. And then up in the top level here, you can also see, I guess we still got a few more levels, but this is, I think, the top level that actually has concourse. These are where you see kind of more food and concession stalls, as well as the large screens on both ends, with of course the famous running back Coeptus himself, number 87. And then just as we move up, working into the roof and lighting structure. As you can see, just an overview of the stadium. And if you want to see it more, this is a speed build, so make sure to check out that video if you have not seen it. This next plot is actually one I created just for kind of a fan meet and greet celebration around the 4th of July, my fireworks. So here we are at my fireworks plot. This was not a speed build. This was just something I did for fun. I had posted on my Twitter and Discord that fans could come and join. And then I did do a fireworks display, which, as you can see, we had a lot of the new fireworks. I think in total, the display went on for a little over 5 or 6 minutes, if I remember correctly. And then back here was a control booth. I just wanted this to look like kind of your fairground where you've got your food truck, just a little event tent. And this would be out of a field or something as people celebrate the holiday. Might be something that I crack back out for the New Year's celebration, but I might make a new fireworks display for that as well. So stay tuned. Definitely want to have more folks loading in. My next plot here is labeled as no Game Pass house, but as you guys will see it on the channel, it is the elegant no. This is one of my more recent speed builds. This one values at $145,000. Created earlier this year. I'd gotten a lot of requests to do another No Game Pass home. This was my take on it with a pretty nice aesthetic. It definitely costs a little more than your traditional starter home. I wanted something that could inspire all of you guys or give those of you who just want to copy and create a build without doing all of the thinking, an opportunity to have a really nice home. You can see how to create this once again in that speed build. This next one, as you can see, is actually a pre-built home. It is the classic family home. I think I had bought it because I was trying to answer a question that someone had about it. And yeah, for some reason, I still have it as one of my plots. As you guys can see, we are here at the classic family home, which is once again a pre-built. I know some of you guys have actually asked if I can do some of the videos, which I know many of the other content creators have done, of remodeling some of the pre-built houses. So if that's something that you guys would like me to show you my attempt on, make sure to let me know in the comment section. This next plot, I am sure many of you who have subscribed to the channel recently will recognize. This is my country club speed build. So here we are at the Country Club, which once again is one of my latest speed build videos. This one valuing at $2.6 million, of course, with these more expensive Bloxburg vehicles. So that does factor into the cost. As you guys can see, and I'll show some of the build mode. Just wanted to kind of show you guys my favorite parts of it out back here. This big 2-story deck, which I was so happy with how this turned out. If you guys haven't heard the story, this is a build that I had attempted for about a year and a half and could never get a layout or design that I really liked, so I'd scrapped it multiple times. You can see back here we've also got a tennis court, got your pool, and then underneath this deck just for lounge spaces. Golf cart storage, not go-kart. We will get to go-kart shortly though. And so looking inside here, you've got your front drive, and then a little hard to see through this kind of ceiling grid, but over here you've got your locker rooms. Right here you've got your what they consider like a golf pro shop, as well as a library space in there. This is like your main parlor and living area. Back here you've got a conference room, which times they'll use in spaces like this, your management's office, and then in this wing is your restaurant space and bar. So that's a big perk that a lot of country clubs have for members to go have food. And then down below is one of my favorite rooms, the grand ballroom they can use for weddings or other similar events. Well, it's the bathrooms for that, and so a very nice gym, sauna, as well as locker room spaces members. You can see here is the sand pit. So this next plot is referred to as firework launcher. It's got a bit of a funny story behind it, so I will just go ahead and show you guys. So here we are on the firework launcher plot, this one valuing at $200,000 of fireworks. So you're probably very, very confused looking at this, wondering what it is. So for a little explanation, when we actually originally implemented the fireworks update from this past year for the 4th of July holiday, the fireworks would originally shoot at an angle, and some friends and I thought that it was a lot of fun and very funny to be able to shoot fireworks into people's homes. I basically created this as like a missile setup where you were able to launch fireworks into the person across the street from you's home, and it made for a lot of laughs. And for those of you, I think I had gone on a few public servers and just messed with a few people, and some people were very confused as to why there was a fireworks display in their living room. I'm very sorry if you were traumatized by that experience. So coming up on our very last and final plot, this is my most recent speed build, my go-kart track. So valuing at $747,000, you can see that this is the finish line go-kart track. Over here, you had kind of the go-kart pit lanes, I guess you would call them, where they store all the go-karts and get the racers ready. And then over here is where you can buy your tickets for the day, as well as some concessions and food if you're waiting for your race time or watching family and friends racing around the track. As you can see, it was a pretty fun track to design. It definitely had its challenges, especially with creating this bridge and overpass, and then all of this terrain that went along with it. But overall, it was a lot of fun, and I know it has been a really good time. I like to load it in occasionally, and I'll post it on Twitter or in my Discord server for people to come join. And I have also done it in a few live streams now where people can race around in the go-karts. Makes for a pretty good time. But Anyways, as I mentioned, that is the final plot of my 45 plots here in Bloxburg. I'm hoping that this is something you guys really enjoyed. I had a lot of fun diving back through the memories and showing off the progression of everything, and I'm hoping that you guys can see kind of how my skills have evolved as well as the game itself and how the opportunities and number of items and variation have evolved over these last few years. If this is something that you guys enjoyed outside of the typical speed building content, make sure to let me know down below. I think I'm definitely going to consider doing more videos like this that aren't just me building something really fast that I know a lot of you guys are like, whoa, that was way too quick, and have a hard time trying to keep up with some of it. And then also, if you guys have any ideas for future speed builds, make sure to let me know down below. As I mentioned, through some of these plots being loaded in, I think there's a few that I might actually try to take on and recreate soon. So if there's any certain ones that you guys want to see a new take on, or maybe some of them that never made it into a video, love to hear what you guys think. As always, thank you guys for tuning in, and if you're new to the channel and want to see more stuff like this, make sure that you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you know exactly when it comes out. Hope you're all staying safe during the pandemic. I know it's been a pretty crazy time for all of us to adjust, and I'm sure a lot of you are going back to school right now, so hope you're all doing well, and I will see you guys again soon.